Mattel and MGA have been at it for as long as their biggest brands have existed, arguing worse than any frenemies, married couples, or siblings. However, amongst all of this, they seem to continuously copy each other and their business strategies. This has caused varied success and failures from each respective company. But the question remains, why bother? Today I'll be going over some of the MGA versus Mattel controversies and getting to the bottom of just what is going on with these undercover lovers. To begin, I just want to clarify that since this is my first proper video, I am no legal expert and most definitely shouldn't be cited for it as a source for any fact. Any information I'll be going over, I will link my sources below, so I won't be throwing any misinformation or false accusations around. But I'm not a journalist, I'm not a detective, and I'm just making this video to scream these ADHD thoughts into the void so they haunt me a little bit less. Also, hey, this is the first of this style of video I plan to make going forward, so if you enjoy, please feel free to subscribe and all that. I will be focusing on dolls and doll-related media on this channel, so hopefully something comes up that you'll find enjoyment from. If it doesn't, that's not my problem. I'll be going over many aspects to each company's output in this video, from the recent Mean Girls release to Mattel Creations, all the way back to the 2000s lawsuits between both companies. I will have timestamps during the video and below, so if there's anything that you want to skip ahead to, feel free to do so, although watch your back. To start in the current day, it's easiest to compare two recent releases from each company and their competitive brands, such as Monster High's Core Refresh line and Rainbow High's Sparkle and Shine line. Before I compare, I'll just clarify that Monster High has been following this pattern with their releases for pretty much the entirety of G3, whilst Rainbow High had their recent rebrand controversy this year as they seem to emulate this pattern. The product is presented as a doll of a character in a full outfit with accessories, along with plastic accessories that relate to the character's branding, the theming of the line, and consistencies for the brand. For example, this is Core Refresh Cleo, presented with a full outfit, pet, backpack, and accessories relating to her mummy heritage, as well as mummy-themed food items such as the food accessories seen with almost every single G3 doll, even the budget ones. Every doll in this line, as for most lines with G3, come with a bag of some kind, these particular ones having backpacks for school, as these are updated school looks, which is aesthetically designed to visibly relate to the character who owns the bag. For some reason, G3 is obsessed with food items and snacks, which is a little tired now 2 years into the brand's run, but alas, she has the usual food accessory, this little cup, personalised for her character to make it more believable that yes, the Cleo chose that for herself for some really unknown shocking reason. She also comes with a pet, again like most G3 dolls do, which I find ties in really well to G1 and their focus on the character's pets. Brands like Barbie will often throw in a small plastic animal with no name or distinct vision to be a pet, which I find quite useless. But in the case of G3 and Monster High in general, I think it works well for them. Finally, she has an ancient Egyptian-inspired scroll and her little heart in a jar, which if you know Cleo and her character, is how her organs are contained and on her person, which again is just a cute little tie into the lore of her character, as well as having accessories which aren't just food which relate to her. Whilst again, the food accessories are a little tight at this point, all of her accessories and the designs of everything tie in well to her character, overall it makes sense for her to have these extras alongside the base doll that she comes with. Now, to compare, next let's look at Rainbow High's Sparkle and Shine Clementine, which is also a doll alongside a selection of accessories personalised to her character. Now, spoiler alert before I begin, I am not biased in this whatsoever. I adore both brands and have large collections of both, but this is simply just to analyse and compare the two products. And why I'm even comparing them will make more sense later. To begin, we have the base doll with her complete outfit. As Rainbow High is a lot less lore focused, the characters don't always have distinctive aesthetics and backgrounds. There isn't too much that helps tell us why she's wearing this outfit compared to Cleo's, which is obviously like her mummy character. Clementine is actually my favourite doll from this line as well, so again I'm not trying to speak badly upon her or the designer's choices or anything. There are elements of the outfit that I do like, but overall it's not for me, and that's okay, you know, that's fine. Onto her accessories, she also has food items and a few other items that actually help tell us who she is. Now, unlike G3, which began doing this mid-2022, Rainbow High actually didn't used to give us accessories with dolls, unless they were fashion accessories. In early 2023, with the release of Series 5 and Shadow High Series 2, we saw the first dolls without the secondary outfit pieces and instead accessories. I won't be going over these as the example, as they were clearly finding their footing with this concept of switching to accessories, and therefore almost every doll released without clothing pieces pretty much had the exact same accessories, just recolored. Any individual accessories that were exclusive to any character were not particularly personalized either, but just more so like Michelle is the doll that has the cup and nobody else has the cup, so you know. Back to Clementine, she comes with a purse as all dolls in this line do, something which is also kind of new for Rainbow High, especially after the failure of their attempt to sell those little purses in the individually blind boxes for £10. But anyway, the purse is cute, however it isn't anything special or distinctive for the character, which again, Rainbow High was a lot less lore focused, so I'm not expecting something like her family tree translated into a purse. It still lacks a little uniqueness as to why it's her purse and no one else's. She also comes with donuts, a coffee cup, and a coffee machine, and a book. The book is slightly confusing, as with the last Shadow High series, we had Scarlet, who came with books that had actual pages, you know, they were higher quality. She also came with a coffee cup, showing that she was an author or reader, you know, one of those coffee heads. Could never be me, but it seems like they're going with this same vision for Clementine, but it's already been done. And this, before they were Rainbow High, these prototypes were Shadow High characters, so they're gonna do the same concept on the Shadow High character again in the very next series? I don't know. So they're going with the same vision for Clementine. However, the donuts feel very random and out of place. She gives major fall and autumn vibes, so the coffee makes kind of sense, with obviously pumpkin spice being such an essential part of the season for some people. And donuts aren't an unusual snack to incorporate into a coffee break, but the combination of all the accessories aren't the most cohesive in my opinion, especially since this is already kind of a vibe and a characterization that we were given to a character before, so again, I'm trying not to be biased here, so I'm not critiquing these as useless accessories. However, I'm comparing to what Monster High is doing with their main releases, as MGA have recently hopped onto their routine, which I'll be going over shortly. The addition of these accessories were also especially interesting in this release's case, as this release continued the Rainbow High trajectory of removing articulation joints, keeping rid of the wrist and thigh joints which we lost last year, and now removing knee joints on top of that. I know that this is for the line's gimmick with the glitter legs or whatever, and they won't be the case for all the dolls moving forward. I mean, we've already had releases from them with the knee joints back, but considering they were under some fire for cutting more budget with the removal of these joints, removing more whilst adding accessories could be argued as kind of pointless. So why even compare the two? They are clearly going for different vibes and have different intentions, so what is there to compare? Well, these two lines are actually not that different in intention. Both lines show high school students turning up to a new school year, accompanied by accessories to help tell their individual story and their character, and motivate children to play out some scenarios with them. They are the main playline releases for each brand, neither being a bigger deluxe playline doll or a budget playline doll. They kind of both fall in the middle, or a standard release. I'm not going to talk much about prices, purely just I am unfortunately from the UK, I know, pray for me guys. And pricing differences for me here to those in the US, to those globally, it all varies quite a lot and for very unknown reasons, so I don't think it would be that fair to compare prices. However, just for the record, Cleo retails for £30 here, which is the standard Monster High G3 doll price, you know, the core releases are £30, the Monster Fest is £30, you then get like the Skulltimate Secrets of 37, which, I mean, that's going a bit too far, but you know, we don't really get anything less than that. Clementine has actually started to retail for 25 here. I mean, I don't think she retails here at all. We haven't got her, we've only got that Rosetta from the line, I think her name is, I don't know. But they're £25, which I believe to now be the current standard pricing. However, they've varied from 30 to 35 in the past for their standard releases. I mean, Series 4 and Shadow High Series 1, when that was happening in 2022, those became 35, so we'll go with that as like an average. Now, I compared things such as accessories that came with the doll for a specific reason. As most of you watching this will know, Rainbow High started as a fashion-focused brand. The dolls would wear miniature functioning pieces of clothing that were direct replicas or parodies of real-life designer fashion brands, varying from Versace to Balmain, even down to more recognizable streetwear brands like Thrasher and Supreme. This was their gimmick, if you will, for the first 3 years of their run, having two fully complete outfits that were incredibly executed and pretty amazing quality for the price you'd pay. Rainbow High was already in the second year of its run when Monster High G3 debuted, and the shift from this fashion focus happened almost immediate. I mean, they would have had to have planned it months in advance, so it's interesting how just like in line they were with each other time-wise, but Monster High came out of the gate with their accessory focus. A big debate online since no one on the Twitter app, not X, I don't know what that is. It's a blue bird. Who are you talking about? But no one can stop debating the Bratz versus Monster High and such arguments, with a lot of the main points being how MGA is dedicated to giving us high quality fashion, whilst Mattel cheapen out on their clothing pieces and favour printed, low quality one-sided fabrics. I don't disagree with either of these, but you know, Rainbow High rebrand, it does get interesting. Now, I couldn't find any actual information on this myself, however, I'm a long-time viewer of the iconic channel MyWorld, where Melissa, who runs the channel, has worked behind the scenes in the toy industry for quite a while now. According to Melissa, from her Zoe Electro doll review from Shadow High, as well as her G3 Claudine review, which both videos as well as her channel will be linked below, Mattel often do playtesting of their products on groups of children to hear feedback and adjust the product according to their results. I believe this is known as Mattel is a public company, whilst MGA is a private company. Again, I'm no journalist, so I'm not trying to act like I know what that means or what I'm talking about here, other than that I know Mattel is public and MGA is not, whatever that means. Therefore, much more information regarding product sales and feedback is available from Mattel, whilst it's not really there for MGA. Anyway, during these playgroups, allegedly children had said they wanted more accessories with their dolls so they were able to reenact scenarios, and having more ways to play with them than just to pretend something is there. I also believe mention of food for their dolls to eat came up, which, you know, that would explain why snacks have become such an essential thing for G3. This was the reason behind G3 focusing their accessory items to being plastic accessories rather than fabric clothing items such as we were used to seeing at the time from Rainbow High. However, very shortly after G3 started showing up, we had images for the upcoming series of Rainbow High, Series 5. Rumours that second outfits were stopping were circulating for a while, and to everyone's fear, it was true. Shadow High Series 2 and Rainbow High Series 5 appeared around the same time, but I'll be discussing Rainbow High just to keep it simpler comparison-wise. But Series 5 was the first standard release for Rainbow High to not include secondary fashion accessories or outfits, and instead prioritised a variety of plastic accessories. Again, it's interesting that the switch-up happened so swiftly after G3 appeared into existence, almost entirely stepping away from their own individual branding and seeming as though they wanted to copy Mattel's pattern as soon as they could to keep up that good old-fashioned company rivalry we know from these two brands. Now, as I discussed earlier, the first rounds of accessories we got for Rainbow High felt kinda strange. They all seemed to come with iPhones with cases, which I actually loved. But then it was just a collection of makeup brushes, makeup palettes, sewing machines, hair dryers, all of which, line up with the fashion-focused branding, but it felt weird when every single character pretty much had the same thing. If you aimed to complete the line, you would end up with several duplicate accessories which didn't really serve any individual purpose or even link to the doll which they came with, excluding maybe the colour of them or a pattern printed onto them. With Jet Dawson, her whole character was that she's this amazing fashion designer, so she comes with a sewing machine. And all of a sudden we're getting the same sewing machine on like 3 out of 6 dolls in the series? They switched this up with later releases, giving each character seemingly more personalised accessories, but as I mentioned before, these accessories sometimes still just felt a little bit random and out of place. Very evidently it was to compete alongside Monster High G3, especially since the information was already out there that kids wanted more accessories for their dolls. But the majority of us, myself included, saw this as a major step back for the brand of Rainbow High. If anything, it was like Rainbow High as a brand was selling itself out just to be another pretty doll line rather than the cutting-edge fashion designer brand that it held itself to be prior. Now there is a whole discussion of collector audiences versus child audiences and how Rainbow High seemed to be collector focused until they realised that wasn't a sustainable route. But I'm not going to delve into that today. If you want me to, let me know and I'll do a little deep dive, I guess. But for now, let's just say what is factual, which is Rainbow High previously prioritised fashion, but now they no longer do. It's almost as if insecurity crept up on them as G3 released, and they scrambled to copy their every move in order to ensure that they would not succeed. But as we know now, this kind of all went down in their faces. So what really went wrong here? Again, sorry to disappoint, but I'm no journalist, so I'm not going to have any breaking news or shocking answers here, but there's still a lot to discuss. As we've seen in the last year alone, Rainbow High as a brand has fallen back into its old ways, prioritising messy gimmicks and sensory play over its fashion doll identity. This is definitely not a bad thing, as of course children are the intended market for these playline dolls, and children will definitely love these gimmicks to their parents' fear. But how did we get here? I, amongst others, speculate something happened around the release of Rainbow Vision. These dolls were absolutely exquisite, such high quality and insanely detailed with individually unique hand sculpts, accessories and such strong visions. However, they obviously were raised in price due to these being more of a deluxe line than the standard line, and all of these details included. I think the first giveaway here is the rollout. I mean, Royal 3 was meant to be the winning band, but they released months after the other two bands. And I understand they kind of gave it away on the packaging and they wanted to at least have the season come out, so there's all of that. But unlike the first two bands, the winning band didn't come with any instruments or any sort of musical accessories. And they had planned accessories for their final product, but these got cut, such as the light stick they were meant to come with. I personally feel as if MGA shot themselves in the foot when they were executing their plans for Rainbow Vision, and due to the higher pricing, they didn't meet their income estimates as they had expected. I think the dolls are incredible, but definitely weren't worth the almost £60 price point they had in some stores here, which is basically the price of two standard dolls. I mean, like I said earlier, they varied from 30 to 35 around this time, so having one for 60, which yes, it was a deluxe doll, but it wasn't like the ones for 30 were that much less deluxe, and you'd get two of them for that price, you know? Anyway. This obviously must have lost MGA a lot of money, even just in between the distribution of the first two and the final Rainbow Vision brand lines. This also happened during the summer of 2022, and as mentioned, the first standard line to cut these second outfits showed up around the end of 22, more so 23 at the start of the year. Rainbow and Shadow High's costume ball dolls also did not come with second outfits, although these were a type of special release, as they said, so I won't be counting them as a mainline release. So whilst there were surely other reasons as to why we could have stopped getting such high quality second outfit pieces, I do believe myself that the main two are Mattel reintroducing Monster High with their plastic accessory focus, as well as the decline in sales due to pricing in order to maintain such high standard of releases. Now, on the flip side, how did the initial rollout of G3 go, and how does this correlate? I won't be going over fan reception to the characters and the whole rebrand because that's not why we're here, but more so the actual release of their products and dolls. G3 had a bit of a rocky start, at least for where I am. The dolls didn't launch in England until January of 2023, whilst they were showing up around roughly like July of 22 in the US and Canada. Obviously, this isn't unusual for countries to get imported products months later than where the original companies are based. However, for G3, that was kind of it, at least roughly for a year. By January, the US had already had the 8 core doll releases, the Ghoul Spirit 6-pack, Creep Over, the Day Out budget line, and the Coffee Break 2-pack. And of course, this would shortly be continued by Abby and Claude, Skulltimate Secrets, Draculaura's Gorganizer, Fancy Laguna, Hairplay Laguna, Series 2 of Skulltimate Secrets. Meanwhile, even by October of 23, the UK had just the 5 core releases available, plus Abby and Claude showing up in some random retailers. I don't even remember Deuce being that widely available either. But what was going on? It was very common, unfortunately, for, let's say, a doll brand releases 10 lines in the US, and about 5 of those make it to the UK. Usually more, but there's always stuff missing. But this was weird. We didn't even get Ghoulia or Toralei available to pre-order until late October 23, whilst they were some of the very first releases that leaked over a year beforehand. I mean, I remember Core Toralei being one of the first actual leaked dolls that was found in a store in Canada, but yet we didn't get Toralei until like the end of November in 23, which has not even been a year yet. That's crazy. Anyway, at the current point of me recording this, the UK still hasn't got the Coffee Break 2-pack, the Day Out dolls, the Ghoul Spirit 6-pack, or the proper release of Skulltimate Secrets Series 2. I don't think it's likely that we will, but stranger things have happened. On a side note, I want to shout out the website Dollect.net, which helped a lot in finding the information about the lines that I might have forgotten about. It's a free interactive doll database founded by dolltuber ex Canadensis, and if you haven't checked it out or her videos, I urge you to do so. I will link Dollect below as well as her channel, but no, this isn't some partnership, it's just genuinely very useful and I've been using it since it launched last year. Anyway, the rollout of G3, especially from someone living in the UK, felt very uncertain and unpredictable. For brands like Rainbow High, it was only lines such as the Sleepover or the band lines that didn't really show up here, so it was concerning to see that such a large portion of a brand's products just wouldn't be available. And another side note, which a lot of G3 releases are available on UK Amazon, these are direct import orders from US or somewhere in the EU, so I don't really consider these as being available here. You have to pay a much higher price and import it from another country and wait weeks for shipping, compared to being able to go to a store and buy a product right then there, or get a product delivered to you next day on Prime, you know. I don't consider them the same. The same goes with Bratz. Almost every single Bratz line since they've been coming back the past few years, they've only been available from importing from other countries. And me personally, with the Girls Night Out line, when that was one of the first ones they put out, I ordered a sasha that had to be imported from EU. They couldn't deliver it. They tried for days. They just, for some reason, wouldn't deliver it to me. And then they literally themselves opted to reorder me another one and have it sent out because they struggled, and that one was the exact same. So already with the first 2 attempts of me trying to order some of these products imported from EU, they just wouldn't deliver to me for some reason. So I don't have good feelings about them. Now, this may not seem too relevant, but stay with me here. This initially gives off concern or worry that a brand might not be doing very great if they aren't able to distribute their products globally. It may have worked in their favour, however. In one of Melissa's videos as well, she mentions how the kind of big ships that they send packaging containers on and stuff, they used to cost like $3,000 to send it across the world. And then in like from 2020 onwards, they went up to about $30,000 because obviously they could charge that, they were able to. So it's no surprise that they weren't the most globally distributed at the start, but even from like a year ago, there was so many lines available in European countries that weren't available in the UK at all, which, you know, it may have worked in their favour, however, because during this year we would see these companies and, for example, these respective brands being Monster High and Rainbow High almost swap places and replicate one another's doing. It's currently October 2024, and we are seeing Monster High continue to outdo themselves with their releases, improving on quality and design, and overall continuing to improve and put joy and attention to details in their products. Whilst on the flip side, we see that Rainbow High is continuing to focus on sensory toy gimmicks and ways to get people to buy their products that aren't focusing on the product itself, such as the slime or the sand, you know. They're bringing up spin-off brands that may stray away from Rainbow High's initial intention and declining more and more in not only the quality of their products, but also the quality control, which has never been great for either brands. I mean, we've all seen some of the wonky faces, but some of the winter dolls we've seen, like I think the initial winter dolls we saw, yeah. Anyway, that and the fashions, which the brand was once known and praised for, are just becoming confusing, recycled, and honestly a little uninspired. But on top of that, I've noticed something else. Monster High has had quite a few releases this year, appearing first in the UK and Europe, before America, which is strange in general. Also, we seem to be getting almost every release that everywhere else is. Rainbow High, on the other hand, are having many weird cuts, lots of incomplete lines being sold, some not showing up at all, and overall, again, the usual delay in getting any stock here, which was never really an issue from Rainbow High before, at least not since I've been collecting, which has been over 3 years now. I mean, I guess like 14, but about 10 of those I didn't, so I don't count it. Anyway, I used to see Rainbow High dolls almost everywhere I went, posters advertising them at random places like bus stops, and then having their own displays in supermarkets and such, but now I hardly see them anywhere. And whilst in the UK we tend to have very, very limited toy selections in stores that aren't dedicated toy stores that you have to drive an hour to get to, it's still a surprising lack of availability amongst retailers that used to stock them frequently. To put this into perspective, 2 small budget-friendly retailers here in the UK have just received their own store displays and stock, featuring exclusive lines such as the Monsteristas budget line, which was very strangely distributed, as well as the new Skulltimate Secrets lines, Monster Fest, Core lines, and more. Whilst one of these stores was a very random choice anyway, as they tend to focus on like cheap food products and like household items and stuff, the other often carried a large range of toys and dolls, frequently having 2 to 3 Rainbow High lines available at any time and often having lots of stock. I went the other day, and whilst I saw the Monster High display, the only Rainbow High products were the Littles, which I don't want to talk about. Don't make me do it, please. I don't want to. But not a single actual Rainbow High doll. And they weren't sold out, there was just no place for them. I did, however, see quite a few empty spaces which had Monster High labels as for standard price items too, just sold out. Now this asks the question, which brand is doing better, at least as of right now? Like I said, it seems as though the brands have swapped places entirely, with lines like Monster Fest giving us colourful themed accessories and well-made separate fashion pieces, which is unlike Mattel first of all, but you know, compared to lines like the Slime line, which showed a drastic decrease in quality, fashion and overall visual aesthetics when compared to previous lines from the Rainbow High brand. Did you hear that? That was my throat. What the heck? Now let's head back to current day and talk about the latest doll drama that sent the world into a spiral, the Mean Girls Bratz dolls. Whilst I've mainly compared Monster High to Rainbow High to help visualize comparisons between MGA and Mattel, this focuses primarily on the companies rather than the brands themselves. Mattel have infamously had their Mattel Creations website for a number of years now, initially sparking controversy with the release of their Haunt Couture dolls back in early 2022. Everybody knows about this god-awful website now, so I won't spend too long on it, but just to give a brief overview, Mattel have had a sense of pride that if they make 4 single units of a doll and have it sell out instantly, never to be restocked again, this makes the doll and their brand elusive, a design and label collector item, which people are willing to fork thousands of dollars purely just to say that they have it. Of course, this attracted the venomous attention of the extremely jobless reselling community, who instead of putting their brain cells to good use and getting an education or a job, spend their time setting up bots to purchase as many toys as they can online during one of these drops, just to have a garage full of them, despite their 2 per customer limit, to attempt to make a living off of this rather than just finding employment. This has plagued Mattel Creations since their first Haunt Couture drop, Frankie, and it's only gotten worse as time's gone on. I've only ever attempted to purchase from there once, and it goes without saying that that was not a success, but arguably, these dolls which retail for over $100 sometimes have worse quality and execution than some of the Playline dolls released during the 2010s era for $15. So if anything, the aspect of having a sought after sold out collector's item from a beloved brand is more important than the design and quality of the product, at least that's how I see people's perspectives on it. An interesting thing to note is back when they first started doing Monster High drops with Mattel Creations, the dolls were priced at a reasonable collector retail price, whilst having great quality and design, and sometimes didn't even sell out. I can't find any evidence on this now, so I apologise if I'm completely mistaken, although I swear I saw something about this a few years ago on like Reddit or something, or like some forum thread thing, I don't know, but I believe some of the first collectors even went on sale or were sold at other retailers purely because they just didn't sell out. They had so much stock available that you were able to buy months after for a cheaper price than the original price anyway. This holds a lot of irony, because when Mattel themselves sold extras of these dolls, they sold them for hundreds of dollars due to the resale prices that desperate people will be paying online. This then allowed them to normalize charging around $100 for a very basic and not collector quality doll, compared to the regular price they charged beforehand. Now, I've seen some people talk about that they used to be around $25, $30, but then I've also seen some of the older drop listings say they were $60. So I can't find much information that confirms it myself. I don't want to claim one thing that's not correct, so I'll just say they were not the price they are now, but they weren't a Playline price back when they started. It was never that. The issue here which comes up is, if we ignore all the scalpers, resellers and bot purchases, why do these sell out so quick when they cost so much? Why do they cost so much in the first place? It's common sense that these dolls are made in a lower quantity, and therefore the costs from everything from molds to packaging costs more per unit than it would for a doll produced in higher quantities. However, they choose to do this to ensure they can charge this price and have the product sell out. But a lot of the time, these dolls are beloved characters such as Jack and Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas or Pennywise from It, so that non-doll collector demand will still be there as well. So why don't they just make more? They know they can charge this insane amount now and have people purchase, and if anything, it would make them more money by having cost per unit be less to make more, having more people able to purchase the item at the standard price, therefore lining their own pockets while satisfying the masses being able to get their hands on these so highly sought after collector dolls. So why do they do it? I don't think there is any answer really that isn't just theoretical, and honestly, I can't think of my own theory. It's pretty stupid of them. The only thing that sticks out to me is that they like to be able to have this sold out product that brings in attention and makes them seem like a valuable company of designer quality product status. They're allergic to making money, in short. These are still mass produced dolls, they're not hand painted one of a kind, so why not just produce more? It seems as though it's all about the talk and the press surrounding a release rather than the actual income. Maybe seen as some long-term plan, but still, dumb regardless. So, where do the Mean Girls dolls come into this? MGA and Bratz have done several collaborative designer releases in the past few years, including those with Cult Gaia, GCGS and Moa Lola. These collector dolls have been to a higher quality standard than their usual releases, have come with accessories and second outfits, stands, and overall a very clear increase in the presentation and quality. However, these were all readily available, and they would release in stores, they'll be available across many different websites, often not selling out instantly, but in some cases being harder to get a hold of than others. Whilst they may not have been the most beloved by Bratz fans, they are still very clearly of collector quality, and overall seem like a step in the right direction of all things considered. So what went wrong with the Mean Girls dolls? At the time of me making this, only Cady has actually dropped, so whilst things may go completely different for the other 2 drops, I have severe doubts that they will, considering how the social media side of things is being handled. And a side note again, I'm recording this about a week after I wrote it, so I've updated and changed a few things, but it's just gotten worse. I've had to update it several times with much worse information, so buckle up. As I've discussed in this whole video, Mattel and MGA have a history of having petty beefs with each other, with lawsuits and ideas replicated, even down to the rumour that Mattel left MGA with a lack of surround hair choices for their products, as well as a lack of money to pay for these choices, resulting in MGA using polypropylene hair for a while, which still haunts us to this day. MGA will always want a taste of what Mattel is serving, because if they can do it as well and replicate the success of Mattel, why wouldn't they? This would make sense for almost everything except for Mattel Creations. As discussed, Mattel Creations comes down to this idea of exclusivity and prestige, whilst not really making any sense outside of that. They could have such a higher flow of money coming directly to them, so why skip on that? Well, it seems we have to ask MGA the same question now, seeing how the drop for the Cady doll went down. However, there are even more questions for MGA now, since they advertised the doll's availability at a variety of retailers, almost all of which, now that I'm actually recording this after writing it, practically none of which happened. The Bratz social media accounts also seem to be making sly responses to disappointed fans in their comments section, which, in my personal opinion, is not a good look, considering Mattel will often just completely ignore the comment sections if they disagree. They are very adamant about the fact that there will not be a restock, and for people to just keep an eye out for the next release. But if they all go down the exact same way, why would there be returning customers who felt disrespected the first go around? Now, like I said, an editing note here before I continue on with this segment is that as of today, the 11th of October, all orders made via the Spanish retailer that the Bratz had advertised, they've just been cancelled. No reason given, fans are unsure if this means the stock is going to remain for US customers, or if they didn't have the stock available to begin with in the first place and just sold out initially. But this just keeps getting messier. Anyway, Bratz themselves had advertised that Cady would be available on various Amazons, a British retailer and a Spanish retailer, all alongside the drop. Whilst the Spanish retailer received their stock for pre-order and sold out after a good few hours, and like I said, had just been cancelled, the British retailer had yet to have any sign of stock whatsoever, as well as Amazon. Some accounts found and gatekept these links to the Amazon listings. However, once the links had leaked, reports of only 30 units being in stock were sold out almost instantly. I have my doubts on any stock even being available from these listings, as no receipts to showing any of them being in stock have appeared despite people saying they saw it. Amazon doesn't have a quantity limit, so whilst it's likely they could have all been bought up by one reseller in one go, especially considering the low amount of units, I still will just have to wait and see what happens there. And again, since writing this, I've seen a few reports of them coming in stock, whether it's on the French Amazon or the British Amazon. Really quick, just extra editing note here. Today is the 15th of October. I really need to get this done, get this sorted, get this out. I've just been too lazy. But as of today, the Amazon UK link is now gone. I don't know if anyone actually got anything from Amazon UK, but the link now shows it is gone. I have it saved in my lists, and if I click on it from the lists, open the product page, it comes up with an error page. Other people have been noticing this. And on top of that, the Bratz social media account on Instagram have told people in their comments that they never cancelled Spanish orders, that they would still be going out, but obviously people are confused because they've had their orders cancelled and refunded, and that store isn't selling any more of them, so they're just straight up lying to their fans in their social media comments. I don't know what to make about all this, but I thought I still haven't finished the video, so I may as well add this in here whilst I'm doing it and try and get this out today. So we'll see how the Regina one goes. It's probably not even going to bother to go anywhere outside of the US, but you know, and yet American fans will still complain. They were messy with the Amazon release as well. They weren't sure what Amazon was actually going to have them. The links came late. They've been restocked at complete random times and almost everyone's missed them. Like, I don't know what's going on with it, but I don't trust it. However, regardless of any of this, the dolls did not, or at least not smoothly or to an acceptable standard, get to Amazon. So whilst they've advertised around 5 different retailers getting any stock, only 2 did, one of which only had 200 items available and has now been cancelled completely. Bratz also added international shipping on their website, finally, in preparation for this drop. However, it turned out to be £72. That's more than the cost of the doll itself, which already has a higher collector price point. So I'm unsure if anyone paid that amount just in shipping, because it was more than the doll itself. All of this adds up to a very messy rollout, and while some of us international fans are still waiting to see about Amazon or other retailers, it seems most unlikely that these will not be happening. Especially considering how the Bratz social media team are handling responses to fans. Now again, a little update since before I've recorded. I wrote this script on the Saturday evening, and on the Sunday morning, only a few hours after I'd written everything, the Bratz team has completely removed the British retailer they advertised as receiving stock from their original post, pretty much confirming that without the £72 international shipping from their website, these won't be coming to the UK at any time. I'll leave it at that, but this couldn't get worse. I mean, they advertise as their own store, Amazon, a British and a Spanish retailer. The British retailer gets removed with no word. One of my followers, an what the fuck, was actually speaking to Very, and now Very had confirmed that they had received stock and it was on the systems and all of this, but was retracted, and so they weren't going to be selling the product. We don't know why. They can't tell us why, but at least we know that this happened. And like I say, the Spanish retailer completely cancelled all orders for no reason, out of nowhere. So what's happened here? Has anyone ordered off Amazon? I don't know if it's worked for anyone, but I guess we'll have to see. I'll leave it at that, but this truly couldn't get worse. They're just lying and alienating major countries of their fanbase at this point. Not to mention their literal British fashion-inspired line didn't make it to the UK either. So how did this happen? Bratz have had several collaborative collector rollouts from where they were readily available on multiple online retailers, in stores, globally, and for months. Well, they're pretty much all still available. And like a lot of Mattel Creation releases, there is clearly demand there for those specific brands that these companies are collaborating with. So why not make enough product? I won't rehash everyone else's points being made at the moment, as there is a lot happening right now, but to put it simply, why wouldn't the Mean Girls doll sell well? There is the failure of the Kylie Jenner collaboration, which gets brought up, but that's a whole other discussion. But for Mean Girls, one of the most iconic movies of the 2000s, and maybe ever, with such a cult following and fan base, such a large amount of various merchandising and products being made from the film's branding, why would they make such a small amount of this release? And why would they be so sly regarding the outcome of the release, with everyone being disappointed? Now again, Cady has only just dropped a few days ago at the time I'm making this, so things could miraculously improve and change for the better with the other few drops. I doubt that. And as for right now, these questions still remain, especially considering that these are only being sold on online retailers and mainly just their own website. The concern from retailers and stores who may have stock that won't sell, such as the Kylie Jenner dolls or the Rock Angels failures, wouldn't really apply here either. They weren't going to be sold there in the first place. My personal take from all of this is that MJ want a taste of Mattel Creations. This was their way of testing the waters. eBay listings of Cady dolls after she'd sold out were being sold for between hundreds to thousands of dollars, only mere hours after the drop. I don't think it's necessarily a smart move unless there is some serious behind the scenes business we don't know about with all of these hard to get drops, but that's my take on it. If they were able to generate enough press and online discourse with how difficult it was to deal with their drop, then they are bringing more attention to them, especially considering Mattel Creations had a drop on the exact same day. At pretty much the same time, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, it was idiots, I didn't even look into it. Despite it being one of Mattel Creations' worst products ever, this was a direct competitive move by both companies to see where demand and profitability lies. It's been heavily rumoured for a while now that a lot of Mattel Creation stock goes to Mattel employees anyway, who are able to upcharge and make their money back by reselling, and I wouldn't be surprised if MJ wanted to test that out themselves. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it really is a dumb business decision to cut yourself off from making so much more money with these releases. Even if it was a limited pre-order and they would have only produced the amount that was pre-ordered or something, you know, it still would have made them so much more money than doing it the way that they have. Which is where we end up with all of these answerless questions. What's so important about this exclusivity aspect these companies are trying to emulate? Why would MGA copy Mattel with this rollout decision if it's met with such disdain from customers? Is this the new standard for collector releases? Will MGA be able to turn this around, or are they going to stick to this weird, very on-theme brassy attitude they're having, solidifying that these are one-off drops and that's it? In conclusion, MJ and Mattel are clearly never going to stop emulating and competing with each other. I mean, it makes sense, why not? But this past year alone, it seems as though MJ is making some really interesting business decisions with their brands in favour of copying Mattel's business choices, which sometimes are for better or for worse. Both companies have had high highs and low lows, but they're usually very good at differentiating their brands and have their own unique takes to distract consumers from another product, rather than just trying to compete so directly that almost everything looks like it's comparable to another product. What do you think about this? Are you worried for a future that MGA seems to be heading in? Do you think they've made the right decisions? Or do you think that copying Mattel dissolved whatever unique identity their brands used to have and now leaves a lackluster selection of options of dolls in the aisle? I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this and how the brands have been handling things lately, so please let me know down below your takes on all of this. I plan to do more videos in this style moving forward, so let me know of any ideas or topics you'd like me to cover, and I'll see if I can take a break from farting on my doll collection to put something together. Oh, and by the way, my annual Halloween mixtape for this year comes out on October 18th, and the first single is out now. Any support's great. Any support's really appreciated. Don't know what you think of it too. I'll see you on the next one, if it ever happens. Bye or whatever.